Good evening and welcome once again to another program of Issues in the News, where we discuss the important events that would have taken place in our country over the past week or so. I want to begin by saying good evening to all those who are joining us from Haika to west coast of Berbice in Region 5. They are joining us on television. They are joining us on Facebook. I want to also welcome all of those who are joining us on television in Region 6, New Amsterdam to Quarantine. I want to also welcome those who are joining us on Freedom Radio from Rob Street, Georgetown, and importantly, all those tens of thousands who are joining us on Facebook Live right across the length and breadth of Guyana, the Caribbean, North America, Europe, and even further afield. Please welcome, and take this opportunity to invite your friends, share this program. Press that share button on your Facebook account or Facebook page so that more people can join us in tonight's discussion. Once again, I appeal to you to share this program, press that share button on your television, on your computer or on your phone so that more and more people can join us on this program. I want to begin by apologizing for my absence last week. I had to rush out of the country briefly, and that took me away from this program. So I want to apologize once again for my absence last week. I want to begin by discussing an issue that is of some importance, and had it not been of importance, it could have been regarded as comical. And it has to do with a post I have seen done by Mr. Paul Slow, in which Mr. Paul Slow is saying on his Facebook account that, and I quote, "I was informed by a usually reliable source that I should be extra careful because persons have approached some known underworld characters to shut up Paul Slow. The source reminded me of what happened to Ronald Waddell and Courtney Crummy-Wing." So Mr. Paul Slow is in receipt of this information. This information, he says, comes from a reliable source. And this information tells him that he should be extra careful because persons have approached some known underworld characters to shut up Paul Slow. The source reminded me, that's what he's saying, of what happened to Ronald Waddell and Courtney Crummy-Wing. This is serious information that Mr. Paul Slow is saying that he has received. Serious information. We know that Ronald Waddell was killed. We know that Courtney Crummy-Wing was killed. Paul Slow has received information from what he describes as a reliable source, a usually reliable source, that he will meet a similar end met by Waddell and Crummy-Wing, and instead of Mr. Slow reporting this matter to the Guyana Police Force, Mr. Slow decides to post it on Facebook, where it is being commented upon and shared. Is this the conduct of a person who wants to be taken seriously in the arena of law and order? Is this the person who has performed the functions of an assistant or deputy police commissioner of this country? Is this the person who is a trained police officer and he claims that he has received specialized training from internationally recognized organizations? Is this the person who is in charge of security by the West Indies Cricket Board? Is this the mentality of such a person? A person who presided as chairman of the Guyana Police Service Commission? Is this a responsible way to react to the type of information that he claims he is in receipt of? You judge for yourself. But what he has done is that he has ignited a conversation, and perhaps that was the intention. And a news outfit called Guyana News Network, which is a Facebook-run organization, I believe run by the opposition elements, the APNO AFC, they have created a story out of it. And it's plastered in the social media now. PPP attempted to hire hitmen to kill Paul Slow, says source. And this is done by a staff reporter, October 26, 2021. Story posted at 1:15 p.m. So Slow makes a post. This bogus newscast or news agency, news outfit, whatever it is, run by the political hacks at Congress Place, publishes this bold story. PPP attempted to hire hitmen to kill Paul Slow. This is the type of social unease that the opposition and its elements and cohorts are pushing in this country. This is the type of agenda to create disorder in this land. This is their agenda. And I'll read what this story says. Sources have informed GNN that two well-known PPP operatives closely aligned with Attorney General Anil Nandlall approached two underworld characters and offered money to silence and eliminate Chairman of Police Service Commission and former Assistant Commissioner of Police, Paul Slow. The men who were approached are known hitmen. The PPP government has been at war with Paul Slow as well as other members of the Guyana Police Service Commission, all Afro-Guyanese. So the race element is now injected in the pot. You see the pot of division and the pot that they hope will create riotous conduct in this country. They are throwing all ingredients in it and they are stirring it to boil. So now the race of the members of the Police Service Commission has become an issue. Why all the members are Afro-Guyanese in the first place in an ethnically diverse society is a different question which they are not going to address. But the race of the people now have become a central issue. The PPP government went as far as fabricating false criminal charges against Paul Slow and also took ruthless unconstitutional measures to disband the Police Service Commission. All of this, the charge is in before the court. The charge is the complaint is being made by a senior officer of the Guyana Police Force of the female gender. The matter is in the magistrate's court, pending, but this newscast has determined already that they are fabricated criminal charges and they were ruthless and unconstitutional measures to disband the Police Service Commission. the Police Service Commission life came to an end. There were no efforts to disband anything about the Police Service Commission. Nothing at all. The Police Service Commission sued the president and the government of Guyana. And those proceedings are in the court. The Police Service Commission, however, has come to an end its life. And then they have the story about Slow going to the police and there was an attempt to arrest him, etc. But look at this story. This is not even intelligent propaganda. Even their propaganda they can't get right. We know that they can't get the law right. They can't get their conduct in parliament right. They can't perform competently in government. They can't do anything, even their propaganda. Even their propaganda is of this quality, making up some hair-raising story that the PPP wants to kill Paul Slow. And Anil Nandlall is... That is what I'm saying. If it were not serious allegations, it could have been highly comical. And it is indeed highly comical. And they have invoked Ronald Waddell and Crummy Wing. But I keep saying, while they were in the government, and let me rewind a little, they campaigned upon Crummy Wing's death for the elections of 2015. On the political platform, they made that an issue, a political issue. They made Crummy Wing death a political issue in their 2015 campaign. They won the government, they got into government. Why did they not conduct an investigation into Crummy Wing's murder? I called upon them several times on this very program to conduct an inquiry into Crummy Wing's murder. Reopen the investigation into Crummy Wing's murder. You are in control of the police force, or at least in the government. Use the governmental apparatus, use the state apparatus to bring an investigation, a renewed investigation. You are saying that the man was murdered. You are saying that the PPP was implicated. You are saying that I am implicated. You had a golden opportunity of getting rid of me. Instead, you go and concoct charges about law books. You had the opportunity there. And I was calling upon you right on this very program to do the investigations, to hold an inquiry. Mr. Granger was holding an inquiry every month. Every month. He held inquiry in relation to people sending WhatsApp messages. Why you can't hold an inquiry into something as serious as you claim as Crummy Wing's murder? You know why? You know why? Silal Prasad, the then Commissioner of Police, should come out and say why. Crummy Wing received a phone call, and that phone call was traced. He received a phone call before he went to that place, Diamond, wherever they shot him. And that phone call was traced by the police, and it emanated from a tower close to Congress Place. They know all of that. All of that is in the police record. That is why they can't hold that investigation. And I'm saying that. And I've said it before. I said it while they were in the government. So Mr. Paul Slow and whoever are behind this, Paul Slow just wants attention, in my view. Who would have the time and energy to do anything to Paul Slow? Paul Slow is who? Who's Paul Slow? But this is the kind of divisive politics. This is politics. This is politics. And that is why I am saying that Paul Slow is a politician. And that is I have no problem. I have no problem with persons wanting to be politicians, but you can't masquerade and pretend to be independent constitutional office holders. Go and join the political party and go and talk on the political platform. I have no, you have a right, I will defend your right to do that. But don't, as one Prime Minister described certain judges. That was an unfortunate description, I will not repeat it. I don't think it applied to those judges, but I certainly think it applies to Mr. Paul Slow. Because look, everything that is emanating from him here is political. So, I understand that he has made a report to the police against me that I said something on this program that is in breach of the cybercrime laws, the Cybercrime Act. He says that I called him an anarchist and I called him Bajon. Well, I did. I did call him an anarchist and I did call him Bajon because the president of this country has given him certain directions which the president is empowered to do under the Constitution of Guyana, and he decides that he will not obey that command, that he will not obey that directive of the president. He determined those directives to be wrong. He determined those directives to be unlawful. He determined those directives to be unconstitutional. So he has ousted the role of the judiciary in our democracy. And he has become the judge, the jury, and the executioner. And when you behave like that, yes, you are an anarchist. You are behaving like an anarchist. Because that is what anarchists do. They do not comply with the establishment. They don't comply with the law and order. I am not saying that the president is right. I am saying it is the court to determine whether the president is right or not. And until that is done, the Constitution and the law says that the president order ought, or the president decision ought to stand. Ought to stand unless a court suspends it. If the speaker rules that one cannot speak in the parliament, can one just stand up and speak, continue to speak? The speaker may be wrong, but a tribunal empowered by the law to determine that issue of whether he's wrong has to pronounce on it. Until that is done, you cannot speak. That is how democracy works. That is how the rule of law operates. A judge may sentence you, and the judge may be wrong. But you have to serve that sentence until a court of competent jurisdiction changes that sentence, reverses that sentence, quashes that sentence. That is how the rule of law operates. The president is in the same juridical standing as those decision makers in a constitutional construct and context. And when the president makes a decision in that context, unless the court, the judiciary, says that the president is wrong, then those against whom that decision is made must comply with the letter and spirit of that decision. If they do otherwise, then yes, they are behaving like anarchists. And I could say that a million times, I don't have a problem with that. And I apparently call him Bad John. Well, yes, I did. because he believes that the president, as I said, is the executive akin to the judiciary in that context. It's like if you disregard a judge makes an order and you say go to hell. What is wrong with me describing such a person as an anarchist or as a bad John, or he believes that he's a bad John? The president is in the same juridical posture in that context. But of course, Mr. Paul Slow would not appreciate those issues, so he is aggrieved by me saying that about him. And I said that in June. Mr. Slow makes a report in October. June, July, August, September, October. 5 months. He says he feels threatened. You feel threatened by a statement I made 5 months ago, and 5 months after you make a report? I don't know if this man's faculties are working. Threat by itself carries fear. A threat in law is something that is capable of translating into action which can harm or cause some type of assault or put a person in the apprehension of the infliction of some harm upon the physical person. I can't threaten you in June, threaten you according to you, or you wait until October to make the report to the police. And Mr. Slow claims to be very versed in the law. He must know that a threat that is 5 months old is not a threat. It does not qualify as a threat in law. A threat is a set of words that are capable of being translated into actions immediately that can cause harm to another. That is what a threat is. These are basic elementary principles of law. And this man pretends to be, he was an assistant commissioner of police, but he pretends to know a lot about the law. Anyhow, I just wanted to share that with you at the beginning of this program to tell you the type of politics that the politicians in the opposition camps are descending to. And they have their new sites like Guyana News Network peddling this kind of falsehood and materials that can cause strained relations in our society. That's all that they want. Since before the declaration of the election results, for that 5 months they tried how long and hard to put people on the road, to cause mayhem, to cause destruction. They didn't get through. It remains their most lethal, potent weapon. The ability to use violence is not happening. So they're getting desperate. They're making up stories now that hardly make sense anymore. But they're doing it because that's all that they know. So I think I've said enough about that. I've given Paul Slow enough attention. He wants attention, obviously. He wants attention. So I've given him enough attention tonight. There's one thing I want to say though. I am working on a mechanism that will allow the law enforcement agencies to get all the information behind these fake accounts and the persons who are hiding behind these names. Guyana News Network. Don't worry. Wait. The law is slow, but it is sure. And there is going to be a time very shortly where the police, the law enforcement agency will know who are behind all these agencies and those fake accounts that are threatening people, that are spreading racial strife in this country, that are, are creating the basis for riotous conduct, all those accounts that people believe that they can hide behind. There is coming a time very shortly where the law enforcement agencies will be able to pull the mask off. And then we will get some actions. I promise you that. We will get a lot of action and excitement. So, Guyana News Network, continue, my friends. Continue with this. We will see every day, my grandmother used to say, every day, bucket a go well. One day, the baton go left. Every night, moon does run. Sun go catch him one time. Those are two very important sayings. So, don't worry, we'll deal with it. I want to speak a little about some statements made by Leader of the Opposition, Mr. Harman, and Mr. Aubrey Norton. Well, first of all, the two gentlemen are engaged in a race for their party's leadership. And I wish them all the best. And I sincerely hope that the best man wins. That will be good for Guyana. I'm not comfortable with the two. I don't think either of them are good. But may the better man wins. I don't know how many candidates there. Oh, there are more than two. Because I see Van West Charles, so it will be let the best man wins. But that's their business. I don't want to get involved in that. We will see the drama unfolding because they have a record of the way they conduct elections. But that's a matter for them, and we will see how that process unfolds. But what I want to speak about is some statements that Mr. Harman made in a speech that he was giving that I had the benefit of listening to, or at least a portion of that speech. And he was speaking about the grant that the government has given to sugar workers who lost their jobs under APNU AFC government. Now let me make it abundantly clear that in 2017, when those workers were dismissed, not long after that, we made a public promise that once we get into government, those families will receive some form of financial assistance for the injustice that was done to them. These are people who from 2017 were arbitrarily dismissed instantaneously without any notice whatsoever. They were not paid their severance. We had to go to court to pay their severance. We had to go to court to get interest on their severance pay. And these persons were never informed. 7,000 of them. You had about 30,000 Guyanese put immediately on the breadline by an uncaring and cruel government. Those people were basically living on charity. They were living on donations. They were living on handouts. They punished. Some of the people were starving. Children could not have gone to school. They were crying. Men committed suicide because they could not have provided for their families. Men turned to alcoholism. Some of them smoked drugs. I worked in those communities. I went to Berbice for 5 years and did this program live. I met with those people personally. I felt their anguish and their pain and their sufferings. And they are Guyanese. And they should never have been subjected to that. And yes, we rewarded them. If those people had taken Gaisuku to court for the way that they were treated, Gaisuku would have been bankrupted. The treasury would have been bankrupted with the number of judgments that they would have received and the quantum of compensation that they would have received. $250,000 is nothing. Is nothing compared to the inhuman way that these people were treated. And any grouping of Guyanese treated this way are entitled to compensation. And we in this government have no apologies. Whether they are our supporters or not, it does not matter. They are Guyanese, they suffered a wrong, their government can correct that wrong and rectify it in some small way. Their government has a duty to do so. And we have executed and discharged that duty. We made that issue a campaign promise. We put that as a manifesto promise to the people of Guyana, and they voted in endorsement of it. We have a duty to deliver on that manifesto promise. And we have no apologies. None at all. None at all. It's against that backdrop that I want to contextualize Mr. Harmon's statement. He said that he will put a stop to the government providing assistance in the forms of grants to sugar workers who were laid off by APNU AFC if he wins the PNC internal elections and his elected president of Guyana. These people are mad. Is that what Harmon is saying? Elect me as leader of the opposition. Elect me as president, and I will put a stop to the government assisting sugar workers. The government, sugar workers are not entitled to governmental assistance? Is that the argument? Sugar workers are not entitled to government assistance? Did we not compensate the frontline health workers? Did we not give a grant to our school children? Did we not give a grant to our pensioners? Did we not give a grant to our farmers? What happened if we give a grant to our sugar workers? All Guyanese qualified, benefited from all those grants. What happens? What is so wrong with the sugar worker receiving assistance from this government? The truth be told, Harmon and the PNC and APNU used Nagamutu and Ramjatan to go into these communities and fool the sugar workers. Told the sugar workers that they will get 20 and 25% increase. Use Ramjatan and Nagamutu to hold rallies in the Berbice sugar communities to tell the workers that they will not close any factories, that there will not be a loss of jobs, that there will be increase in wages and salaries, and then fool the people, dismiss them, refuse to pay them their severance, And when the PPP government extend some form of assistance to these sugar workers who suffered for 3 long years, Harman he will stop that when he gets into government. Well, we all know that he will not get into government. And he will not get into government anyway, more so now that he has made a statement like that. More so that he has made a statement like that. Statements like these demonstrate a mentality. When politicians make statements like these, the populace have a duty to keep them far away from political office. What you're seeing in the night, you don't want to see it in the day. Mr. Harman is telling you here that he will discriminate against Guyanese. He will discriminate against sugar workers. And you know the mistake that they are making is that there are so many Afro-Guyanese sugar workers. I remember meeting the sugar workers of Wales. And they were about 40% Afro-Guyanese, the sugar workers at Wales. I have no doubt that many sugar workers voted for these people. And here it is, they're painting everybody with one brush. But that is why they're in the opposition. That is why they're in the opposition. And I now come to Mr. Aubrey Norton. He is also a contestant. And he now, as if to respond to Harman or not be outdone by Harman, he has contributed his 2 cents to the debate. He is saying that the government is practicing discrimination against communities perceived. You know, he's a bright boy, so he uses language like communities perceived to be APNU AFC stronghold in the distribution of assistance such as cash grants. Well, we are giving cash grants to old age pensioners. Old age pensioners are not APNU supporters. We are giving cash grants to school children, the parents of school children. These people are not APNU supporters. We only won by 1 seat in the parliament. So if all these people are our supporters, how come we have not won 65 seats in the National Assembly? I don't understand these people if they don't think before they speak. We have given assistance to farmers. I personally have participated in that process as well. Only last Sunday before last Sunday, I was in the Canal number 1 area. And I distributed cash checks to Afro-Guyanese farmers. I don't know how many dozens in Canal number 1. I personally was at Sisters Village on the east bank of Berbice. East bank of Berbice. Sisters Village. Where they had hundreds of Afro-Guyanese receiving cash grants. Apparently, only when Indo-Guyanese receive something, then Harman and Norton see that. And according to them, and based upon everything that they're saying, apparently Indo-Guyanese ought not to benefit and should not benefit from anything in this government. That only Afro-Guyanese should benefit. And I am saying that Afro-Guyanese should benefit, yes. Every Guyanese should benefit. But according to these guys, once one Indo-Guyanese gets something, he's a PPP supporter, and he's a PPP campaign, and he's a PPP distribution of assistance, to suit its constituencies. These people are sick. You are dealing with a set of sick people here. But we can't bother with this type of mentality. Because this is the type of mentality that permeates the opposition. I was listening to Mr. Van West Charles, the other contestant. This is a guy whose platform is democracy and fairness and transparency. And his biggest political asset is his association with Forbes Burnham. Let me repeat. Van West Charles' platform seemed to be based upon politics of transparency, fairness, and a democratic process. That's what he seemed to be talking about. And his main political asset is the fact that he was the son-in-law of Mr. Forbes Burnham. Well, right there, the whole strategy falls apart. Because transparency, democracy, and fairness are the opposite. They would repel against Forbes Burnham. They don't attract. They are repellents against each other. These are not concepts that gel. They are implosive. So right there, his whole political existence is a contradiction that somewhere he has to resolve. But I heard him on Globe Span some time ago speak about GWI, the place that he managed. And I was so proud to listen last night to my colleague Minister Suzanne Rodriguez speaking on Globe Span, responding to Dr. Van West Charles, and ripping him to shreds. Ripping him to shreds. Or shredding him. Minister Rodriguez went to tongue last night. She spoke about not only his incompetence, not only the fact of this quandemania that took place, and how the bank accounts were literally drained, but also of the dealings that he was implicated in respect of procurement of products to be used by the company. He was in the middle of the procurement process. He was like dealing with the suppliers themselves. No transparent process whatsoever. Contracts being split so that they don't meet to the level to qualify for public procurement. And this guy. And then, of course, he had one of the biggest fuel importation business. And importation there is a euphemism for smuggling. Because all of them, the importers, they have been implicated in smuggling. Most of them conceded that they were so implicated and struck deals with the Guyana Revenue Authority. So it's not a question of me speculating. They went and they settled their matters, accepting guilt and accepting culpability, and negotiated adjusted fines for their as penalties. So I'm not speculating when I speak about the fuel smuggling ring that took place. But that is the extent of Mr. I want to get back on this. I want to read some of the comments so that I can invite you now to become part of the program. It's against that backdrop. I want to get back on this. Yes, so sorry about that. Let me see. I'm getting some compliments all the time. I want you to raise some issues with me so that I can address them, things that you want me to speak about. So anyhow, I'm still trying to look at some comments while I deal with you. While we have to deal with all these distractions and these attempts to create division in our country and create confusion among our people, we in the government have to remain focused to address the challenges. And we are doing that. COVID is still wreaking havoc in our country. We still have that to deal with. We have to manage an economy that is affected tremendously by what COVID is doing to the production, world production. We have to deal with scarcity of products in the international market. We have to deal with skyrocketing of prices on the international market that obviously is now filtering down to Guyanese. We have to deal with the astronomical shipping costs right across the globe as a result of the COVID pandemic. And in spite of all of that, you would see that our economy is among the fastest growing in the world. You would have seen our president and his delegation completing a very successful trip in Dubai, where so many businesses and companies and organizations have expressed a desire to come to do business in Guyana. You would have seen our vice president visiting Africa and making some important connections there so that we can get assistance to guide us in the oil and gas sector. The local content bill is currently receiving attention at the Attorney General office, and a team has been appointed there along with personnel from the Ministry of Natural Resources, and every effort is being made to expedite the completion of the bill so that we can have it ready to take to Parliament in the shortest possible time. As you know, we have consulted widely on this bill, and we are supposed to get some assistance from overseas as well, but we are still pushing ahead. So, and the interest in our country continues to grow. People want to hear about Guyana. People want to talk about Guyana. People want to invest in Guyana. That is the kind of climate that we have. I recently went to Panama, where I met in Panama City with certain companies who want to come to Guyana. They want to establish a base, a presence in Guyana. Companies, huge companies in almost every, well, the few that I dealt with were huge companies. They are the headquarters of several large multinational companies. In this hemisphere, they are located in Panama City, but they want to come here in Guyana to have a presence. So I say all of that to you to say that our country is moving apace, and we cannot be afford to be distracted by these ramblings that I keep that I referred to earlier. We have to remain focused. We have a job at hand. We have to keep abreast, and we have to work. We have to work because the economy is moving so quickly. The economic activities are moving so quickly. We have to qualify our people. We have to qualify our people. Is not, while it's a good thing being in government during this period, it's not easy being in government during this period. The pace is very, very heavy. The workload is heavy. Yet you find this story that I have the time to bother with Paul Slow. If you know the amount of work that I have to do, whole day. Tonight I don't know what time I will go to sleep. Tomorrow night is the same rigor. And these people are implicating you in foolishness. But we can't, this is the type of distraction. The type of distraction that you have to deal with, but we have to remain focused. We have investors who are knocking at our doors. We have to process, we have to read contracts, we have to negotiate, we have to ensure that Guyana's interest is best served. We have to ensure that our local population is protected in this process. We have to ensure that our environment is protected. We have to ensure that we create the infrastructure here that will conduce to the increased economic activities and commerce. We have to build our institutions, the deeds registry, the commercial registry, the land registry. All these are important agencies in the developmental agenda of this country. Those 3 or 4 agencies whose name I mentioned are the agencies that have to process all the property transactions. They have to register all the companies, all the debentures and mortgages have to be filed there, all the business name have to be registered there. So these are crucial institutions, and we are moving to modernize them. This year, we are going to construct next year, we are going to construct new buildings in Essequibo and hopefully in Berbice to house these institutions because of their importance in the advancement of our economy and the commercial activities that we expect to continue to overwhelm us. And all of this happening in a COVID pandemic. You could imagine what will happen when the COVID goes, and I'm hoping that it goes, or whenever we find a cure for this. So somebody's asking whether Paul Slow filed this cyber crime charge. I don't know that he has filed a charge. What I read in the news is that he has made a complaint to the police. I hope that the police will investigate that complaint. I hope that the police will apply the necessary law, and I am prepared to abide by the legal process, of course, as I have done before. I am no stranger to the legal process, either as a lawyer or as a defendant. They have charged me before, so it's not a problem. The crime situation is crucial. Of course it is. The crime situation continues to be a major concern of our government. And every single day, efforts are being expended in addressing the crime situation. Please don't think for one moment that this government is not attuned to the crime situation in Guyana. Every day we have discussions and there are policies that are being implemented to address the crime situation. The police force on a daily basis is being equipped. As I said, on my ministry, we are going to donate a set of computers again to the police force. We are trying to assist with staffing the forensic lab with the required personnel so that we can get convictions and we can get proper scientific investigations done. The police force is continuing a recruitment exercise. And also there are other strategies which the Minister of Home Affairs should really speak about, and of course, he will be speaking about them. So don't think for one moment that crime is not an issue that the government regards with the greatest of priority. Persons are asking here for more firearm license to be granted. I believe that firearm license should be granted more liberally in Guyana. That's my honest view, and I have expressed that view already. Because we have a lot of people who are qualified for firearm license, but who are not, for some reason, the system is slow. There are a lot of, I know that there are a lot of purse applications pending, and there are a lot of applications pending, and one can't rush the process because the grant of a firearm license or its refusal is a very important exercise, and it requires some degree of care and circumspection, and one can't approach these processes rashly and carelessly. One ought to take due time and diligence in order to assess each application on its merit and grant it if it's worthy of grant, refuse it if it is not meritorious. And that is my approach. That is what the law says. So I agree that firearm, like somebody saying that the police is taking bribes. Well, that is a long. We keep hearing about that, and we are not unaware of that reality. But a process has to be pursued that will eliminate that. And I will, on the next program, I want to speak a little about stop and search by the police on the road. It's an issue that is occupying some considerable debate, and I believe that I should offer my humble thoughts on the issue as well. I believe that we are moving as a society, and our evolution as a society, our advancement as a society must be reflected in the way we conduct ourselves. We are not living in an authoritarian regime where policemen must be on the road and stopping people and so on. That was a part of our history when we did not have democracy in this land, when the rule of law was subverted. The police force was being used as a show of political power. We have moved away from that era in our country's history. And I'll put the entire question into context in a program that I'll do shortly, so that we understand why this thing is where it is. Travel around the world, you will never see in countries that have long democratic traditions, you will not see a police on the road stopping road users. You will not see that in societies that have long traditions in democracy. You will see that in authoritarian systems. And there are some remnants of authoritarian systems still with us. And it's our duty, this generation's duty, to rid our country of the remnants of those repressive and oppressive elements. My operator is signaling to me that I have gone past program time. I want to thank you once again for spending the past hour with me. I think that we have discussed a number of important issues. I hope that I have dealt adequately with Mr. Paul Slow. I hope that I have given him the attention that he thinks he deserves. Obviously, he wants attention, so I am giving him the attention that he wants. I hope that I have engaged you constructively, and I want to take this opportunity to wish each and every one of you a successful week and a healthy week. Stay safe. COVID is still rampant, and COVID is still wreaking havoc with us. Thank you very much.